that a really good iBook for music education will involve as little text as possible. If you want to produce text-heavy documents, then you don't really need iBooks Author. You could publish them in a PDF or onto a web page or something like that. The whole point of iBooks Author is that first it makes it easy to make your information look beautiful, and second it allows you to present videos, sounds, images in really beautiful ways very, very quickly. So ideally, wherever I can, I'm not going to use paragraphs of words to describe something. So just to give you an example of some of the other shapes that you can create in iBooks Author, I'm just going to break what I just said and put in a little bit of text, but I'm going to simply write something like listen to the final song. So my idea here is that the students have listened to the interview where Alicia Keys speaks about how she created the song, and then they're going to listen to the final song. I'm just going to open up the text styles here. This button here, by the way, opens that drawer, and I'll choose a nice heading style for that. And then perhaps I can draw their attention to that by maybe creating some arrows to guide the eye from here to here. So that's where I'm going to use the Shapes button, and you can see there are a bunch of different shapes that can be used for many, many different things. But I'm just going to look at the two arrow options straight away. So click on this one. You can see that that's given me a very fine arrow line that's not really going to be particularly eye-catching for my students, not really going to draw their eyes to that text, I don't think. So what I'm going to do now is again go to our inspector, which we definitely are learning to love, and I'm going to click on this button here in the inspector, which opens the graphic inspector, and I'm going to make this line thicker. So you can see here it says stroke, and each time I make that stroke bigger, you can see that the line gets thicker. The next thing that I'm going to do is make that line a little bit funkier. So I want to tell it that, oops, not that button here, this button here. I want to tell it that it sort of looks like a roughly drawn line, and maybe I can even change the color to something a little bit funky as well. Okay, so that's one way that I can make a fairly nice looking arrow. And then you'll also find these nice big fat arrows here. So as I showed you before, when rotating an image, hold down Command while you're hovering over the corner of an image to move it around. But because this is one of the images that's made, or the shapes that's made by iBooks Author, we've actually got more control than just resizing it. You'll see, for example, that when I changed that just then, the arrow head stayed exactly the same, and I can actually then go and edit just that head and the thickness using the little blue dot there. I can also change what that arrow looks like. I can change it to, say, a gradient color fill. Change the angle of that gradient, all sorts of exciting things that you may never have really thought about, and I will now choose some disgusting colors to make a really bad example of that. But there we go, that's a bit more of a spiffy looking arrow now. And as I said before, there are a bunch of different shapes in here that might be useful. One that I really like using to make text pop out is this particular shape, which makes a nice little background. Again, you can change the color of it. You can put a line around it if you want to, whatever. So you can see that's made a nice little area now, and then I can drop a text box into that and put something in. Did you know that blah blah blah, and just drag that into here. So again, you want to make sure when you do these kind of things that you're using the fixed layout, because they might look funny when you turn your iPad around otherwise. And you can see that I have no choice for orientation because I'm working in a fixed layout now. Watch the last video if you haven't seen how to do that yet. The final thing that, there are two more things that I want to show. The first is that these shapes are easily drawn on the picture, but they can also be used to actually mask images. So if I go and drag my favorite guitar picture in here, which I've had lots so far, I'm just going to turn off. You can see that it's got this kind of picture frame look, and again, that's something which you can change here in the graphic inspector. But what I'm going to choose is I'm actually going to go down to Format, and I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to say Mask with a Shape. And what I can do now is I can actually choose one of those shapes. So I could choose that rounded rectangle again to actually mask that image. And then I can edit the mask so that that image is exactly around the shape that I want. I can give it a line again if I want to, maybe not quite that thick and maybe not black. It's a little bit severe. But just to give it the look that I want to. And now when I click off that, that is acting as if that is an edit image. So I can even change the shape of that. I can use that as a button to take me to different parts of the book using the link option here in the inspector, or I could use that as an icon throughout the book for a certain kind of theme. You know, here is a guitar chord and tap on that to hear something, or so on and so forth. So that was mask with shape. You drag an image in and then you choose the mask with shape option. And finally, quite often you'll find that you want to line these things up in a row. And when I take things like multiple images and put them on a line, see, it's showing me all sorts of different things. The blue line that's being drawn now is showing me that the center of these two images are aligned. But let's just say, and I'm going to move this out the way, let's just say that I want this image and this one to be aligned at the bottom of the images. And you can see that I can't actually get it quite there. You can, by the way, let go of dragging and just nudge that up and down until you think it's in line, but it would be useful if it would snap to the outside of the object as well as the inside of the object. And the other, by the way, the other measurements that it's doing are to show me whenever an object is equidistant from other things, which is just good layout practice. So if I want to snap shapes to the outside edges of each other, that's actually set up in preferences, and this is off by default, which is why I mention it. It's worth turning on in my not very humble opinion. So I've just gone to iBooks Author, then Preferences. I tap on Rulers, and I'm going to say Show Guides at Object Edges. And by the way, notice that the color of the guidelines can be changed. So if you find blue distracting, or if you're colorblind and can't see blue, you can change that option there. And now when I drag this down, it will also, you can see now it's drawn a snap line at the bottom where they're aligned, or I can drag it up to the top and it will draw a snap line, blue line, between those two images to show that they're now top aligned. So even though this particular page is looking pretty horrible, I can very quickly start aligning lots of different things, the outside of that image to the outside of this image, so on and so forth. I could put that in line with that song, with that image, and very quickly just make the layout of my page much nicer with things nice and neatly aligned.
So go and